Hello, Dawlish Christian Fellowship, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today about the work of MAF around the world during these times of pandemic. You may recall that we are a Christian organisation using light aircraft to reach isolated people in remote parts of the world, people often in deepest human need. That short video we've just watched reminds us that although isolation may be new and strange to us, for many around the world it is quite normal. For all of its 75 years of operation, MAF has responded continually to a changing world, perhaps never more so than now. Yet our mission is the same: to bring change for good to people who need it. Delivering help and hope and healing, taking God's love and the good news of Jesus Christ to many. Every one of the 27 countries in which we operate is different, but generally our service is quite severely affected by the pandemic. Distancing in light aircraft is almost impossible between passengers and crew. But we're fitting screens, and we have fitted screens where we can in our aircraft to provide a level of protection within them. Even just flying freight can be problematic due to local flying restrictions and transport restrictions. Medical emergency flights, medivacs, can still happen mostly, and so we're continuing to fly where we can. The work of our 2,000 plus partner organisations is badly affected too, of course. However, most of those serving with MAF have remained in situ with their families, and so they're ready to resume operations once local restrictions allow. And as they do their best to protect themselves, their loved ones, their colleagues and those we serve, they're experiencing many of the same restrictions and frustrations as we are, although their living circumstances are very different to most of us. Medical services in developing countries are scarce often and limited, and there are real concerns should the virus gain a foothold amongst the populations. On a practical level, MAF's income from payments for services and flights from our partner organisations and customers has reduced. And although actual flying costs such as fuel have reduced too, aircraft still need to be maintained, housed, insured, serviced. Our local employees need to be paid. Those who serve with us need their incomes to provide for their families. One positive is that our teams are carrying out all the servicing they can whilst flying is reduced. And we've taken measures to weather the financial storm as best we can, but of course our reserves and resources are not limitless. A couple of bits of local news. In South Sudan, where the virus is present, we recently flew virus test samples on behalf of the World Health Organization to Juba, the capital, where they were processed and the results made known. We carried out cargo flights for our NGO partners. We flew soap and hand sanitizer and locally made masks for them to areas of great need. In Madagascar, in a town called Petroka, there'd been recently an outbreak of malaria. 80 under 12-year-olds had died. And so we flew a medical team into that town where they carried out teaching and training and performed all that they needed to limit that outbreak. Now, you may be listening to this thinking, well, what can I do? Well, the most effective thing you can do, if you would, is to pray for our work. 3 prayer points, if I may. That God will spare the poorest and most vulnerable from the effects of the virus. That many will turn to him during these very uncertain and frightening times. And that God will protect and sustain the work of MAF, our partner organisations, and protect those who serve with us. Now, we would love to give you the opportunity to find out more about MAF and to best experience our work in various countries in which we fly. You can do this by following the link on the screen, and that will allow you to sign up for our Discovery Air Pass journey. Come fly with us from country to country, find out what it's like to live and work and serve in some of the most remote parts of the world. Every couple of months you'll receive some communications, free of charge, featuring background, news, stories, interviews from one of the countries in which we operate. And that will enable you to pray effectively and actively for our work. So will you help us to continue the vital work we do amongst the poorest, most isolated people? People who may be isolated from most of the world, but are not forgotten and don't have to be isolated from Jesus Christ. So thank you for listening this morning through technology. Stay safe and goodbye.